Alright, doing this straight Jeremy style, doing it directly after. It is 11:05 Pacific Standard Time. Just watched the last episode of the Ultimate Fighter, quarterfinal number 2. Good episode. Decent fight, I must say. I actually enjoyed the fight. It was up and down. But let's talk about the other parts of the episode. You know, Jens Pulver kind of contradicted himself in the episode. I'm not sure if everyone else picked up on this, but he's having this big argument with Brandon. He goes, "There's another fucking team here that you can go train on." And Brandon was like, "Is that what you want?" And he's like, "No, of course it's not what I want." Blah blah blah. Then Brandon comes to him and says, "I'd like to train. I think I'd like to train with BJ Penn, to get the full experience of this." And sure enough, he's like, "You can't do that. Andy Wang got kicked off the team. You have to get kicked off. I'm not going to kick anyone off, and I'm not going to let anyone go." Well, you just said that there's another team you can go train on. So, and now you're not letting them. So, I don't know. It's just BJ Penn. I would rather train with BJ Penn. I think he's a more skilled, well-rounded fighter. But, hey, I understand Jens trying to keep his team together. And, you got to do as a coach, you got to do certain things to motivate guys, but you also can't push them away. And I felt that he did kind of push him away at that point. And then, they did a lot of, the other coaches and Jens Pulver himself, they did a lot of things to try to bring him back in. And, actually the funny thing is the kicked off team Penn member, Andy Wang, or Hung, or Wang, or whatever his name, Wang, yeah, he was the one who really stood by Melendez, and Melendez beat the crap out of him. So, he helped him make weight. Melendez said, I owe almost all this to Andy. I wouldn't have made weight without him. That's big. Everything you saw there at the gym, everywhere, it was him and Andy was there the whole time. So, maybe Andy learned something after he got kicked off. Maybe he learned how to be a team player. At least for now he did. Because that impressed me. Andy Wang's display in that episode where he got kicked off Team Penn made me wonder if there was something wrong, if he rode the little bus to school, because he got kicked off BJ Penn's team. Jens Pulver comes in and says, "Yeah, you can come on our team. Our team wants you." And he's like, "Well, is that my only other choice?" Come on. Was there a third team that we don't know about? So, I was like, God, he's got something missing up there. But, he came and he stepped up and he helped Brandon and, did a good job. During the training, BJ and Gray were sparring with the UFC, the 4-ounce gloves on. And BJ wasn't wearing a mouthpiece, and they were just going. BJ's mouth was bleeding, and Gray had some little nicks and bruises, and I thought Gray put it the best when he was like, "Man, at any time he could probably just destroy me." But he was a good brawl and everything, and I love seeing BJ in there. Just how much he works with his guys. How much he's always in there. You always see him striking with them and working ground stuff with them. And God, for a guy like Gray, bringing in Randy Couture, you're talking about, not only a great wrestler, in all facets of wrestling. Greco-Roman and freestyle. There's not a guy who's in MMA who's a better all-around wrestler. Both of them. There's Matt Lindland, who was an Olympic silver medalist in Greco-Roman, but there's Josh Koscheck, who's probably the best freestyle wrestler in all of MMA. But there's nobody who is so well versed in both of them, at least that I know of, and to help someone like Gray. I think Gray right now reminds me a lot of Josh Koscheck that you can like. Unbelievable wrestling ability. That can really just control and dominate a fight, but he is just a wrestler right now. And he showed that he has some jiu-jitsu, but if he continues to work his ground and pound and everything, I think, and I hate saying this, but for great wrestlers, for guys that are just unbelievably great at wrestling, they need to train with Tito Ortiz. They need to train with somebody who has just got an unbelievable ground and pound. Yeah, you got to go train elsewhere and you got to do other things, but learn how to ground and pound like Tito. Gray would do great up there. And not joining Team Punishment or whatever, but learning from Tito. So, that's what I feel about Gray Maynard. Now, Brandon, I didn't get to see that fight with Andy, and I kind of wish I would, because it was kind of a slugfest or whatever. But he won, and pretty much everything that I've read about him, Gray needed to take the fight to the ground and avoid striking with Melendez because he has big hands. But Melendez struggled to make weight, so I was like, man, his conditioning might come into, he might start getting real tired. But at the start of that second round, I was like, I noticed Gray getting tired, and I'm like, oh man, I started getting this funny feeling. I was like, yeah, Gray won that first round, but because all the takedowns, but he didn't do that much, and now he looks like he's just gassing out. So I was like, oh shit. I was getting nervous because I picked Gray to win, of course, in my last video. And but sure enough, he comes around, he goes back into wrestling mode, he gets all these takedowns, and sure enough, gets that gets that guillotine choke, and bam, it's over. But I was nervous. I was like, oof. And I think there is something to what BJ said with the overtrained. You can't, you got to take it easy at some point. You got to, when you're, I mean, these guys have been training for a while now, so that, a couple days before the fight, they got to start winding it down from their normal training regimens just so they have that energy and that gas tank to go. I mean, I know they know what they're doing, but if your coach tells you you're overtraining, and I don't know if BJ said it to him, but I'm sure he will for the going into the semifinal match, because I know BJ expects a lot out of Gray. He thinks Gray can win this whole thing, and I do too. I think he's a good enough athlete. I think his wrestling is. I think Gray's hardest matchup would be against Matt Wyman, another really good wrestler who might be a little more well-rounded. Not as good a wrestler, but more well-rounded. But Gray is a definite. He impressed me in this fight because Melendez impressed me, and I think that Gray showed something, showed that he has heart, and shows that if he learns his mistakes of training too much, he can definitely come through. Other than that, so good job, Gray. 2 Team Penn members now into the semifinals, so Team Penn has not only evened it out, but they've taken the lead because there's there's kind of a coup that's going to happen next week because it looks like Nate Diaz is going to go train Team Penn. Looks like he's trading teams. So, and I understand that. You don't want to train with the guy you're fighting. I mean, friends or whatever, but you don't want, I wouldn't want to train with the guy that I'm fighting. That's why you never see, I'm not just championship fights, preliminary bouts. I mean, cage rage cards. Those guys don't train together and then go fight each other. You don't want that. You don't want a guy to see how you train. So I totally understand, and I saw in the previous. I mean, they might be just joking around or whatever, calling him traitor and everything, but this isn't the IFL. This isn't a team game. This is every man for himself. There's only one winner of this. And granted, there's probably going to be multiple contracts that go out to these guys, but there's only one winner. There's only one guy who's going to get that big contract where they're making, whatever, $25,000 or $35,000 or $40,000 per fight, or however much the winner makes per fight. So, I know they say it's a 6-figure contract, but I think that's spread out over 3 fights for the first year or whatever. So that'd be like 30, 33, 35 if it was $100,000. So yeah, so I understand what Nate Diaz did. Next episode's gonna be dope. We're back to 2 fights. Once again, I'm picking Nate Diaz against Corey Hill, and picking Matt Wyman over Manny, and that's gonna be good. That's the fight I'm waiting to see because Caro comes and helps train. I love Caro, so that's gonna be dope. But real quick, just want to say Corey Hill. I was a little hard on him in my last video. A guy pointed out to me that how good is this guy for never having any fights, and I'm like, and that's the truth. I mean, if Jeremy Horn sees it in him, everybody who's watched the show has seen it in him, because when the show first started, everybody was like, Corey's probably one of their top guys, and it's like, well, he's not really their top guy, but this guy has a ton of potential. Now, gets with the right camp, learns how to, with a camp that'll teach him how to use his size and advantage, because there's not a lot of 6'4" guys out there that are 155 pounds. I mean, that's kind of a freakish body structure. So that's like, you know, just to think he's only 2 inches shorter than Kendall Grove, and Kendall Grove fights 30 pounds heavier, and Kendall Grove is a freakish middleweight. So I think Corey Hill's got a lot of potential, but still gonna pick Nate Diaz. Just too much experience, too many skills to lose to Corey, and gonna pick Matt Wyman. But I'd be happy to see Manny win too. But I'm gonna go with Wyman. I think he's more well-rounded, and I think he can counter Manny's strength and Manny's judo. I don't think Manny's judo is as good as Caro's. So that's just what I've heard. So all right, well, going to the IFL tomorrow in Everett. Gonna have video. I'm gonna kind of put it all together, and I should have it up on the site hopefully sometime this weekend. So cool. Shocker, Night Train, and I'm out.